We've talked about governance and now about the obligations of governments. Accountability is a human rights principle that permeates the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. So how can accountability and good governance lead to universal water, sanitation and hygiene?
Accountability empowers people. It empowers people. The existence of accountability mechanisms at the national level, for example, okay, at the global level also, it's important on the regional level, but let's stay at the national level, having a place that you can go to complain when the water that you are drinking are causing your kids diarrhea, or is killing your neighbors, or is making people sick. Or having a place to complain when you realize, how is it possible that I'm devoting such a high percentage of my household income to water, sanitation and hygiene, which forces me to make impossible choices and choose between paying the water bill or the supermarket bill, the water bill or the pharmacy bill. So realizing that the human rights to water and sanitation are not an abstract concept. They entail concrete obligations in terms of ensuring quality, physical accessibility, affordability, etc., without any discrimination. This package, the human rights package, empowers people to hold their governments to account. And when I'm talking about accountability mechanisms that governments must ensure, well, I would say that the measure of last resort would be a court of law, but it can be other types of mechanisms, having a place where you can complain to an ombudsman, a Defensoria del Pueblo, as they have in Latin America, having an independent regulator, as we have here in Portugal, having a place, an institution that is impartial, that will look at your situation, at your complaint, and understand, is this person not enjoying the right. So I think this is very important, but I've been only now talking about this relationship between governments and people. But of course we know that the world is not only composed of people and governments. There are many other stakeholders, many other players. The type of institutions that we bring around the table at SWA, academic institutions, the private sector, civil society, bilateral donors, international finance institutions, UN agencies, etc. And what we do at SWA is that we say we need to all be around the table. We work better, slower, it's true, but better and in a more sustainable manner if we come all together around the table. And we put in place a mechanism that we call of mutual accountability, where we have the government leading, obviously, because the government, as I was saying before, has the legal obligation of realizing the rights. The heads of state and the heads of government that sign up to the Sustainable Development Goals in New York in 2015. But so the government says, these are my priorities, this is what I commit to doing in the coming 2-3 years. And then we have the other players around the table saying, I will support you on that priority by doing research, by collecting data, by training people. So you have this national compact of mutual accountability among the different actors. I believe that this is an immensely powerful tool that can help us advance this agenda. Now, in terms of good governance is a tricky thing. We know that it's fundamental, right? It's like the roots under a tree, but you don't see them. You cannot take pictures of it, right? It's harder to sell. It's much easier to sell a tap, a toilet, a latrine, right? A pipe, because you see it, you touch it, you take a picture, you inaugurate it. How do you inaugurate good governance? How can you take a picture of good governance, right? So it makes things harder, but I would say that the good governance is the enabling environment that is indispensable for the rest to flourish, for the rest to be sustainable and to work. What I'm talking about what we were saying in terms of accountability, having the institutions that can hold the government to account, but also having good laws, having good policies, having good mechanisms in place to curb corruption, to ensure integrity, to ensure meaningful participation, etc., etc., etc. And this is part of the difficulties that I face in my day-to-day life. Because at SWA we focus much more on these underlying elements, the enabling environment, the roots of the tree, right? And we try to work with governments. We do work with governments. We work with governments and other development actors in sensitizing everyone to the crucial importance of making sure that these building blocks are in place, because without them, who will want to invest in water, sanitation and hygiene?